Supergod, create Civilization 0. Kesha is stunned. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 101, Waving. Immediately, Emo King Iron took out the silver dragon sword and swung it without hesitation. Point buff. A sharp sword beam slashed out, hitting him and domineeringly, splitting his body in half. A strong man at the peak of the 9th level of Nirvana was instantly killed by Emo King Iron. Watching his companions being slaughtered, Lu Xuan was frightened and felt a strong fear run, knowing the horror of Emo King Iron. Lu Xuan did not dare to stop at all and quickly fled to a distance. Looking at the fleeing Lu Xuan, Emo King Iron sneered and said, "Do you think I can't do anything to you if you run away? You are so naive." Space compression. As soon as Emo King Iron finished speaking, he emitted the power of space rules and enveloped Lu Xuan. As the power of space rules approached, Lu Xuan immediately panicked, his face full of panic, and said, "Boy, let me go quickly. I can pretend nothing happened." Emo King Iron ignored Lu Xuan's proposal and continued to control the space to compress him. Seeing that his words had no effect, Lu Xuan's face showed a ruthless look and he shouted angrily, "Boy, I advise you to let me go quickly. Otherwise, when my reinforcement arrive, even if you have 10 lives, it will not be enough to compensate. Haha. Threaten me." Emo King Iron curled his lips indifferently at Lu Xuan's threat and said, "No matter how strong your reinforcement are, I can crush them." Emo King Iron said this, and then he released the power of space, and the crazy Lu Xuan crushed over. Bang. After being hit by the space rules, Lu Xuan's body exploded directly and turned into a bloody rain. As for Lu Xuan's body, it was also washed by the power of space rules and turned into flying ash and dissipated into nothingness. Seeing Lu Xuan being shot dead, the others were dumbfounded. They never expected that under such circumstances, King Iron actually defeated Lu Xuan. After a brief shock, several people felt regretful. If they had known this, they should not have coveted the treasure just now. Let's go. Let's continue to move forward and try to collect enough spiritual medicine as soon as possible. After shooting Lu Xuan and others, Emo King Iron glanced around and called everyone to continue on their way. Chapter 102, Simple and Elegant. Next to the creation fairy tree, there is a 10-foot high tomb with several jade tablets on it. Seeing the jade tablets on the tomb, Emo King Iron's pupils shrank, and he was very excited. These jade tablets were exactly what he needed, and he was eagerly looking forward to it. "Junior brother, look, there are words on the tomb." While Emo King Iron was observing the tomb, Lin Feng pointed to a tombstone and excitedly shouted 863 to Emo King Iron. Hearing Lin Feng's words, Emo King Iron turned his head and saw that there were indeed civil officials engraved on it. The name of the tomb is Creation Heavenly Lord. Chapter 103, Pretty Face Turns Cold. Immediately, all the magic weapons on Emo King Iron and his companions were taken away by the guards. "Okay, you can go." After giving the treasures to Emo King Iron and his companions, the guards ordered them to leave the tomb in a domineering manner. Hearing the guards' expulsion, Lin Feng and his companions' pretty faces turned cold and their eyes became gloomy. "What? Are you unhappy?" Seeing the faces of Lin Feng and his companions, the guards raised their eyebrows and released a cold breath. Feeling the guards chill, Lin Feng and his companions' expressions trembled and all showed fearful eyes. Seeing Lin Feng and his companions afraid, the guards' expressions became even colder, saying, "If you don't know what's good for you, don't blame us for being rude to you and letting you stay here forever." Hearing the guards' threats, Lin Feng and his companions did not dare to stay any longer and immediately walked out of the tomb. Seeing Emo King Iron and his companions leave, the guards did not chase them and went directly into the stone chamber. Chapter 104, Escape. HMPH. "Boy, this is none of your business. Let's go." The guard didn't care about Emo King Iron's cheesing and waved his hand. After the guard finished speaking, they were about to turn around and leave. Seeing this, Lin Feng and his men looked upset and were ready to stop them. "Wait, not wanting Lin Feng and his men to stop him. King Gan stopped them and said, I've already said that, if the spirit of creation in this tomb is gone, even if you empty the tomb, it will still be useless. What do you want to say? The guard turned around and looked at King Gan with a cold face point. When the guard questioned, King Gan raised his hand and pointed at the tomb, saying, look, there is no spirit of good fortune in the tomb family, which means that the spirit of good fortune in the tomb family has disappeared. You are talking nonsense. The spirit of good fortune in the tomb was sealed by me personally, and it must still be in the tomb. As soon as King Gan's words came out, the guard immediately showed excitement and refuted King Gan repeatedly. Point after the guard's rebuttal came out, he glared at King Gan again and said, since you suspect that the spirit of good fortune in the tomb is missing, then go and open it now. If you can't open it, don't blame us for attacking you. The guard's words are very logical and convincing. Point however, King Gan did not believe this argument and continued to explain, saying, although there are many opportunities and treasures in this tomb, the most precious thing is still in the fortune fairy spring. As long as those opportunities and treasures are excavated and washed with the fortune fairy spring, their effects will definitely double, which is greater than the simple harvest. King Gan's explanation was true, so the guard was silent and could not speak for a while. Chapter 105 ignored. King Gan's guess was right. The person who came was Lu Xuan. Lu Xuan ignored the guard's question and flew directly to King Gan, asking, junior brother, why are you here? What happened? It's hard to explain. Hearing Lu Xuan's question, King Gan sighed and briefly recounted the matter. After listening to King Gan's words, Lu Xuan cast a comforting look at him and said, don't worry, with me here, no one will dare to bully you. Lu Xuan's attitude was firm, and King Gan didn't say anything more, and entered the fortune fairy mountain with him. From the guard's mouth, it was learned that the entire fortune 857 fairy mountain was completely desolate. This situation was similar to what King Gan expected. While King Gan and the other were talking, a person in simple clothes walked towards them quickly. Seeing the simple old man approaching, Lu Xuan frowned slightly and said, what are you doing here? Lu Xuan, don't forget the agreement we made that year, otherwise God will never forgive you. The simple old man didn't want to say more, and his words were threatening, so he walked forward. Looking at the simple old man's back, King Gan asked with a little puzzlement, brother, who is this man? He once saved my life, and now he is the elder of the creation fairy mountain. Lu Xuan simply answered a sentence, and he took King Gan into the creation fairy mountain. With King Gan and the others rushing on the road, they arrived at the creation fairy spring in a short while. Chapter 106. Half an hour. In his sight, there was a huge stone standing upright, exuding an ancient and vicissitudes of life. King Gan carefully observed and found that there were 4 big characters engraved on the stone. Heavenly secret treasure. When he saw this name, King Gan immediately widened his eyes and became excited. This huge stone is the heavenly secret treasure. I finally waited for it. When King Gan was excited, some guards of the creation fairy mountain gathered towards the huge stone. Immediately, King Gan felt a terrifying oppression, and he attacked. As this oppression approached, King Gan's body trembled, and he felt suffocated. This huge stone contains the power of the law of space, and I can't get close to it at all. Sensing his own situation, King Gan's expression was tense, and he was afraid of this huge stone. Seeing King Gan's performance, Lu Xuan showed an admiring expression, raised his foot, and walked towards him, saying, wait a moment, I will go to discuss with the captain of the guard. As soon as Lu Xuan finished speaking, he walked towards the captain of the guard. Soon, Lu Xuan arrived in front of the captain of the guard and briefly told him the matter. Then, the captain of the guard looked at King Gan again, as if asking for instructions. King Gan did not refuse the captain of the guard's request and waved his hand at the captain of the guard. Seeing that King Gan did not object, the captain of the guard made a decision and said, since Master Lu has spoken, he will be allowed to join the creation fairy mountain. Thank you, Captain. The Captain of the guard replied. Emo Kingan thanked him, and he walked towards the captain of the guard point, following the captain of the guard to the lake. Emo Kingan took out the token and handed it over, saying, I'll trouble the captain to take me away, Mr. Emo, please follow me. Seeing Emo Kingan's behavior, the captain of the guard responded politely. Chapter 107 Waste of Time. Looking at the bottom of the lake in front of him, Emo Kingan immediately raised his eyebrows, and a look of shock appeared on his face. I saw that in the bottom of the lake in front of me, there were stone tablets that were thousands of feet high, emitting amazing power. On these stone tablets, various words were engraved, like a series of scrolls. What are these? Staring at these stone tablets for a while, Emo Kingan showed a curious expression and asked Lu Xuan 7 or 8 or 3 in response to Emo Kingan's question. Lu Xuan did not rush to explain and said, you look, this is the inheritance of our creation fairy city. The successive heads, clan masters, and some great elders and other high-level officials of the creation fairy palace will leave their inheritance here. After listening to Lu Xuan's story, Emo Kingan immediately understood what these stone tablets in front of him were used for. While Emo Kingan was observing, some disciples of the creation fairy mountain were also attracted here. So many stone tablets, all inheritances. Each stone tablet contains the law of space. If you obtain the inheritance in it, your strength will definitely improve by leaps and bounds. The grade of these stone tablets is too low, and we have no hope of obtaining the inheritance. Hey, who is that kid? How dare he stay here? That kid is Emo Kingan, and he once defeated our fellow apprentices. It turned out to be him. It is said that he has the 9-ox sword. What's wrong with the 9-ox sword? He is destined to be unworthy of this inheritance. That's true. How could he get so many inheritances? If he really got the inheritance, we would cry. Don't worry, he will definitely fail in the end, because he offended Li Haoiu. Chapter 108 A Legacy. I didn't expect it to be a body refining technique. After reading the inheritance memory, Emo Kingan couldn't help but sigh, feeling a sense of regret. Although he comprehended the inheritance memory, he couldn't comprehend the inheritance thoroughly due to his talent and qualifications. Otherwise, this heavenly demon body refining technique alone would be enough to become his ultimate skill. Although I can't comprehend it thoroughly, this inheritance is still good and worth collecting. Kingan made a decision about the inheritance immediately. Emo Kingan turned his eyes and looked at Lu Xuan next to him, saying, Brother Lu, are you going to comprehend it yourself or protect me? Of course I comprehend it myself. I'm not interested in sharing it with you. Listening to Emo Kingan's words, Lu Xuan rolled his eyes and looked down on Emo Kingan. Emo Kingan didn't care about Lu Xuan's attitude at all and didn't have any patience at all. In this case, there is no need to waste time. Just start snatching the inheritance directly. Brother Lu, let's go. Emo Kingan called Lu Xuan, and he approached a stone tablet, ready to comprehend the inheritance. Lu Xuan curled his lips and sneered at Emo Kingan's actions. So many years have passed, and there is still no progress. I advise you to retreat, so as not to delay the opportunity to comprehend. I am determined to get this inheritance. Emo Kingan ignored Lu Xuan's sarcasm and still chose to get closer to the inheritance under Emo Kingan's insistence. Lu Xuan shook his head and was too lazy to dissuade him. As the distance to the inheritance got closer, a strong repulsive force emanated from the inheritance attacked by the repulsive force. Emo Kingan's expression trembled and felt a huge pulling force. What? A strong repulsive force. Sensing the repulsive force of the inheritance, Emo Kingan's expression was tense, and he was very surprised. This situation shows that this inheritance is more difficult to get than he expected. Obviously, it takes a lot of effort to get this inheritance. However, despite knowing the power of the inheritance, Emo Kingan did not stop. Immediately, Emo Kingan no longer hesitated, and immediately used the 9-ox sword to slash at a stone tablet. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 109 with you now. Listening to Lu Xuan's words, Emo Kingan raised his eyebrows. A sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth and asked back, "Oh, why do you think so? With your current strength, you can't comprehend this inheritance unless you can reach the supreme realm." Lu Xuan raised his eyebrows arrogantly and mocked Emo Kingan a few words, saying, "As for the secrets you have, they can only be hidden from ordinary disciples. You are still a little naive to deceive our eyes." Listening to Lu Xuan's words, Emo Kingan shrugged without comment and said, "In this case, let's try and know who is more powerful. I'm not afraid to tell you, if you are willing to hand over the secret book, I may spare your life." As soon as Emo Kingan finished speaking, he rushed to the stone tablet. First point, looking at Emo Kingan's actions, Lu Xuan hesitated for a moment, and then he rushed over. He wanted to know what level of secret book Emo Kingan mastered. Point. If it was an ordinary secret book, he could accept it, but if it was a top-notch one, it would be a big problem. Point. The two people scrambled for the inheritance stone tablet, which immediately attracted the attention of a group of people, and they followed behind them. "Should we follow them?" Seeing the performance of Emo Kingan and Lu Xuan, a disciple looked uncertain and asked his companions what they meant. "I think it's better to follow them." Hearing the advice of the senior brother, the other person nodded and agreed with his point of view. Immediately, the three of them also chased forward, ready to see Emo Kingan's performance with their own eyes. After a while, Emo Kingan arrived at the stone tablet and grabbed the inheritance stone tablet. Emo Kingan grabbed the inheritance stone tablet with both hands, and the inheritance stone tablet immediately vibrated, bursting with a powerful pressure. HMPH. Pretending, feeling the changes in the inheritance stone tablet, Emo Kingan shouted coldly and blasted towards the inheritance stone tablet with more momentum. Chapter 110. No more talking. In Emo Kingan's opinion, although Lu Xuan's speed was good, it was not enough to escape his control point. As soon as Emo Kingan moved, he instantly traveled 1,000 meters and was on par with Lu Xuan in the blink of an eye. "Your speed seems to be faster than mine." Feeling Emo Kingan's presence, Lu Xuan frowned and had a puzzled expression, saying, "As far as I know, in the starfield, the strongest physical strength is the wild ancient beasts. How can your physical strength be stronger than them?" Hearing Lu Xuan's question, Emo Kingan glanced at him lightly without explaining anything. Seeing Emo Kingan's silent attitude, Lu Xuan understood the answer and felt a little unhappy. He didn't expect that he was ignored by a junior, which was something he never expected. Emo Kingan's disregard made Lu Xuan look unhappy. Anger surged up his chest, and he shouted, "Since you don't want to say it, I will take you down with my own hands and force you to tell the secret honestly. You can try." Emo Kingan did not show any weakness and directly responded to Lu Xuan and continued to urge his body to hurry on. Seeing Emo Kingan's tough attitude, Lu Xuan's face became even gloomier and he exuded a cold breath. Emo Kingan's attitude completely angered Lu Xuan, making him hate Emo Kingan. Bang. In anger, Lu Xuan's footsteps accelerated and approached. CBCH. Emo Kingan. Lu Xuan accelerated to approach Emo Kingan, and he slapped his palm and hit Emo Kingan's chest. Facing Lu's attack, Emo Kingan was not afraid at all and punched him. Bang. The two fists collided and a loud noise broke out. Immediately, Lu Xuan took 5 steps back, his face slightly flushed and a trickle of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Chapter 111. Fame in the Starry Sky. Seeing Emo Kingan's performance, Lu Xuan's face became serious, and he said something harsh, and then flew towards the inheritance steely. Emo Kingan ignored Lu Xuan's scolding, and continued to use his body skills to hurry on. Seeing Emo Kingan's actions, Lu frowned, and felt annoyed in his heart, saying, "Since you insist on stopping me, I will deal with you first, and then take the inheritance steely." Roar. As Lu Xuan's words fell, he looked up to the sky and roared, and his body suddenly shone brightly. Then, Lu Xuan emitted a terrifying holy power fluctuation, crushing the surroundings. When Lu Xuan emitted the holy power, a sharp and domineering sword force burst out from his body. Sensing Lu Xuan's sword force, Emokingan's expression was shocked, and he exclaimed, "What a terrifying sword force! If I block this sword force, I will fall into a long period of stagnation and have no chance to snatch the inheritance stone tablet." King Gaian was shocked, and he waved his left arm and performed the second of the 8 thunder styles. Thunder Dragon descends. As soon as the second of the 8 thunder styles came out, a violent and domineering holy power immediately erupted from Emokingan. Then, everyone saw 9 thunder dragons blasting out from Emokingan's left arm. The 9 thunder dragons blasted out and pounced on Lu Xuan with their fangs and claws, as if they were 9 peerless thunder spirits. What a terrible move. This Emokingan's strength is too terrible. In terms of swordsmanship, I'm afraid no one can beat him, except Lian and Qin Yuchen. In that case, it is still unknown who will win or lose in today's battle. I hope Lu Xuan can win. I think Lu Xuan should win. After all, Lu's realm is 1 level higher. That's true. If it were Lian, he would definitely lose. That may not be the case. In my opinion, Emokingan's strength far exceeds Lian, and Ji Yan will definitely not be his opponent. Looking at Emokingan's performance, the onlookers looked expectant. Emokingan didn't care about the conversation of the crowd at all, and focused on resisting Lu Xuan. Chapter 112. Cold Eyes. Humph. No matter how strong he is, he can't cause any trouble here. That's right. Everyone present is stronger than him. It seems that the rumors are not entirely accurate. Seeing Lu Xuan being blown away, everyone looked at Emokingan with contempt. Under everyone's gaze, Emokingan ignored them and continued to chase after the inheritance stealie. Stop. Right there. 560 saw Emokingan approaching him, and Lu Xuan shouted angrily, exuding a more domineering aura. Then, waves of terrifying holy power gathered in Lu Xuan's right hand. Immediately, under everyone's surprised eyes, Lu Xuan raised his right hand and punched out. Lu Xuan punched out, and a violent and domineering holy power condensed into a huge tiger claw. Roar. The tiger claw formed by the holy power blasted out and turned into a stream of light, grabbing towards Emokingan. Seeing Lu Xuan's attack, Emokingan's footsteps did not slow down at all and continued to approach the inheritance stealie. Is this guy crazy? Is he going to resist Lu Xuan's attack? Although he is strong, he wants to take Lu Xuan's blow. It is not easy for Lu Xuan to attack with all his strength. He doesn't really want to use his body to attack Lu Xuan, right? It seems that he has run out of tricks. What a pity. Originally, he had a natural talent. It only took a little time for him to break through to the golden immortal realm. Chapter 113. Analysis in the mind. What a terrifying aura. This should have reached the cosmic level, right? King Gaian was shocked. This was the first time he met someone who could suppress the aura to the cosmic level. When this conclusion came, some memory fragments immediately popped up in King Gaian's mind. Description of a cosmic level strongman. Lu Xuan is not very old. If he is in the golden immortal realm, he can barely meet the cosmic level. If he is quasi-cosmic, it is another matter. After analyzing it in his mind, King Gaian had a clear understanding of Lu Xuan's identity and strength. It must be said that Lu Xuan's achievement today is indeed not due to luck. However, this still cannot change your fate. You must stay here today. Lu Xuan didn't care about King Gaian's panic at all and attacked him directly. As soon as Lu Xuan finished speaking, a terrifying holy power surged out of his body. Then, Lu Xuan's figure flashed and appeared in front of King Gaian in an instant. Tiger. Demon Star Breaking Kick. When he came in front of King Gaian, Lu Xuan kicked out with a leg, bringing up a fierce gust of wind. This kick turned into countless leg shadows, bombarding King Gaian. Facing Lu Xuan's attack, King Gaian was not afraid at all, and also raised his foot to meet it. Bang. In the blink of an eye, the two legs collided with each other, and a muffled sound burst out. Then, King Gaian felt a strong impact, which blasted him back 100 meters after stabilizing his body. King Gaian's face immediately showed a look of surprise, and his heart was full of shock. What a powerful leg technique. This guy's not simple. Chapter 114 Waste of Time. Once Lu Xuan's soul defense is completed, Emo King Gaon's soul power will have difficulty penetrating, as expected of a quasi-universe level person. He is indeed very cautious looking at the soul barrier around Lu Xuan. Emo King Gaon couldn't help but praise him, but he didn't worry at all because he knew that Lu Xuan's behavior was just a desperate struggle point. Although Lu Xuan's behavior was stupid, his approach was very admirable after all. Facing a huge temptation, anyone could do this. Don't worry, your opponent is not him, but us. Seeing CI King Gaon's worry, Long Xianfei smiled indifferently and pointed to several quasi-universe level strongmen on the other side. They, following the direction pointed by Long Tengfei, Emo King Gaon frowned slightly, his face full of confusion. He didn't understand where Long Tengfei and the other two got their confidence from. Seeing the confusion on CI King Gaon's face, Long Tengfei grinned and said, I know you have always been wondering why the three of us didn't escape. Actually, it doesn't matter if I tell you. Anyway, you are about to be eliminated. Chapter 115 What does it represent? This is impossible. I clearly used defense, but why can't I block this sword? Sensing the power of the flames on the immortal burning halberd, Lu Xuan's mind was buzzing, and the whole person was stunned for a moment. When Lu Xuan was shocked, his figure flashed and dodged Emo King Gaon's sword. This kid's strength seems to have become much stronger, and it is definitely not a drop in the bucket. Waving the immortal burning halberd, Emo King Gaon forced Lu Xuan back, and a guess emerged in his mind. After a brief shock, Emo King Gaon's mouth curled up and produced a bright smile. Lu Xuan, Chen Tao, since my soul attack can't do anything to your defense, I'll change to another trick. Emo King Gaon shook his right arm and crossed the immortal burning halberd in front of his chest, saying 837 Don't you think that I only have soul attack means and can't break your defense? Then try the immortal burning halberd. As soon as CI King Gaon's voice fell, he took out the red crow golden knife and slashed it in the air in front of him. Immediately, a flaming sword Dora about a kilometer long was slashed out from the burning immortal halberd. After the flaming sword Dora was slashed out, it turned into a stream of light and slashed towards Lu Xuan at a high speed. Facing the attack of the flaming sword, Lu Xuan did not dare to be careless at all and quickly raised the Soul Saint Soldier to resist. Bang 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 bang. A series of explosions were heard, and the flaming sword Dora and the Soul Saint Soldier collided, bursting out a group of flames. These flames spread out, burning the nearby trees and turning them into ashes. Lu Xuan, we are here to help you. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 116 No Stopping. Brother Emo, I admit that I underestimated you, but you are not my opponent after all. Seeing that Emo King Gaon stopped attacking, Lu Xuan's expression eased a little, and he said some arrogant words. Emo King Gaon ignored Lu Xuan's arrogant words and said coldly, do you really think that you have the advantage of the star domain world and you can win? Humph, a frog in the well. Lu Xuan snorted disdainfully, unwilling to say more to Emo King Gaon, and shouted to Chen Tao and the others, Chen Tao, Wu Linfeng, show all your strength and suppress him in one go. Lu Xuan's order was issued. Chen Tao and the others nodded and immediately urged the star domain world to press towards King Gaon. Chen Tao and the others sacrificed the star domain world, and they did not deal with Emo King Gaon, but directly rushed towards Emo King Gaon. Since you are stubborn, don't blame me for being rude. Seeing what Chen Tao and the other two did, Emo King Gaon roared and rushed towards them. While Emo King Gaon was running, he swung his fists violently and hit Chen Tao and the other two. Gang splitting mountain tiger, the violent and overbearing dragon elephant power surged out of Emo King Gaon's body and turned into silver tiger shadows. When these tiger shadows were formed, they were summoned by Emo King Gaon and integrated into his boxing Gloves raw. When the tiger shadows merged into the boxing gloves, Emokingan's body grew bigger and turned into a giant ape in a blink of an eye, transforming into the giant ape state. The momentum emanating from Emokingan immediately increased several times. It's transformed. What kind of secret skill is this Emokingan, which actually has such power? This guy's really a monster, and he actually knows such a powerful method. If he doesn't die, he will definitely be famous in the future. Seeing Emokingan's sudden change, Lu Xuan and the other two were both amazed. They didn't expect that at Emokingan's age, he could master such a heaven-defying method. The changes in Emokingan made Chen Tao and the other two look panicked. In their opinion, with Emokingan's current performance, he was already qualified to compete with them. Immediately, the two of them joined the battle and launched a counter-attack against Emokingan. Chapter 117. Cannot hurt. Emokingan, you can't hurt us, otherwise you can't leave the Wanjian Imperial Palace. We are all core students. Now that we have been defeated, you are also to blame. Seeing that Emokingan's target was locked on the two of them, Chen Tao and the other two immediately exclaimed, trying to bring out their backgrounds to scare him. Unfortunately, Emokingan didn't buy it at all and still ignored the threats of Chen Tao and the other two. In Emokingan's view, even if he killed all of Chen Tao's 310 people, at most he would be deducted some points as for being retaliated by the background of Chen Tao and the other two. He had never considered it, and he was not worried about this problem at all. Although Chen Tao and the other two were core students, their identities and status were still far from Chen Hao. If they really annoyed Chen Hao, it shouldn't be a big deal for Emokingan to hand them over to Chen Hao for disposal. You talk too much nonsense. Listening to the words of Chen Tao and the other two, Emokingan's face darkened, and he raised his hand and pointed out a ray of light. The light flew out of his hand and burst towards Chen Tao and the other two, and then enveloped the three of them. After being hit by the light, Chen Tao and the other two screamed immediately, showing an extremely painful expression. Then, Chen Tao and the other two felt that the souls in their minds seemed to be torn apart by someone. Puff puff puff. Under the screams of Chen Tao and the other two, their bodies and souls were all completely disintegrated. Soon, Chen Tao and the other two disappeared completely, leaving only a few pieces of armor and storage rings. This guy is just like a butcher. How can he have no mercy at all? Chapter 118. A thought came to my mind. During the discussion, they took out their weapons and rushed towards Emokingan. Soon, the two of them started fighting with Emokingan, and there was a fierce collision. Bang 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 bang. Emokingan's figure flashed, and he swung his arms to hit Lu Xuan and the others, and every time he fell, he shook them back. Seeing such a scene, the expressions of the people around him froze, and they were stunned on the spot. After a short period of days, a group of people immediately whispered and talked about King Gan's origin. This boy actually defeated Chen Tao and the others. Does he really have the strength of a core student? The means he just showed seemed to contain the four attributes of thunder, fire, gold, and wood. Could it be that he hid his true strength? This guess is too terrifying. No wonder he is so courageous. It turns out that he has the strength to challenge higher level opponents. Looking at his posture, he seems to have some spare energy. The situation will be lively next. Look, Chen Tao and the other two seem to be fighting to the death. This guy has really bad luck. Don't rush to judge. Just wait and see. I bet 100 star stones that the kid will definitely lose. Haha, Leo Wang, are you kidding me? This kind of thing is not a good sign. This kid is no match for Chen Tao and the other two, and we are unlucky too. Alas, my 30 million star coins are all going to go down the drain. As everyone discussed, their expressions were uncertain. Chapter 119. Slowly walking in. What kind of fire is this? It actually gives me a familiar feeling. The aura fluctuations of this flame seem to be the Nirvana 9 Tribulations flame. I should have heard it right. This kid is a demon. We must not offend him. Feeling the power of the 5 flames of creation Nirvana flame, Lu Xuan and the others trembled, and their eyes were filled with panic. Immediately, they did not dare to hesitate, and hurriedly fled to the distance. Emokingan's power was completely beyond their expectations, and they had lost their will to fight. Want to escape? Can you run away? King Iron curled his lips indifferently, with contempt in his eyes, and raised his hand to chase Chen Tao. Seeing Emo King Iron rushing towards him, Chen Tao was frightened and pale, and immediately turned around and fled. Emo King Iron's power was completely beyond his expectations, and he could not compete with him at all. Therefore, in his opinion, staying to fight Emo King Iron was simply seeking shame. You can't escape. After Emo King Iron's words fell, he accelerated a bit and quickly chased after Chen Tao. As Emo King Iron's speed increased, Chen Tao's escape speed also slowed down. Seeing Chen Tao's actions, Lu Xuan's face turned cold, and he felt angry. If Emo King Iron didn't care about his two junior brothers in danger, how could he respond to the pressure in the sect in the future? Stop right there. After shouting angrily, Lu Xuan turned around and chased after Emo King Iron. Watching Lu Xuan and the other two leave, Emo King Iron smiled faintly and said, "These two people take themselves too seriously. They really think of themselves as geniuses. But this is a good thing for Meow plus at plus chapter 120. Raise your hand and grab." The scene just now was so exciting that he almost died. "Brother Lu, can we first settle the grudge between him and me?" While Lu Xuan was panting, Emo King Iron pointed at the man next to him, his face full of teasing. Hearing Emo King Iron's request, Lu Xuan frowned slightly, hesitated for a while and said, "Since you two have a grudge, you can solve it yourself. I won't interfere in your grudge. Thank you, brother Lu." Seeing Lu Xuan's reply, Emo King Iron smiled faintly and slashed at the man with a knife. "Boy, you are so cruel." Looking at Emo King Iron, who was slashing down with a domineering knife, the man gritted his teeth and wished to cut Emo King Iron into pieces, but because Lu Xuan was present, he didn't dare to attack Emo King Iron, so he had to choose to avoid his edge. The man dodged Emo King Iron, and he kept urging him to avenge him. Seeing the man's action, Lu Xuan's expression twitched, and his mood became worse. The hatred between Emo King Iron and Emo King Iron had already annoyed him enough. If the man was involved again, it might not end well today. But before he could refute, the man persuaded him again. "Brother Lu, don't dawdle anymore. Kill this guy quickly to avenge me." Lu Xuan ignored him and remained silent. "Brother Mo, let Lu do it for you." Seeing the man getting closer and closer, Lu Xuan didn't want to delay any longer, greeted Emo King Iron, and rushed towards the man. "Humph, I underestimated you." Looking at Lu Xuan, who was attacking him, Emo King Iron snorted coldly and dispersed the surrounding array patterns. Chapter 121, Mockery. Surrounding Emo King Iron and the other two, everyone mocked them. Under the mockery of everyone, Emo King Iron raised the corner of his mouth, revealing a sarcastic smile, and said, "Everyone, don't act like I'm the best in the world. In my eyes, you are just a bunch of clowns." HMPH. Hearing Emo King Iron's contempt, everyone's face turned cold, and they felt a strong anger. "Arrogant kid, you dare to humiliate us. Be punished." Under the angry eyes of everyone, a man in gray sneered and took the lead in swinging his knife at King Iron. Looking at the actions of the man in gray, Emo King Iron's expression was indifferent, and he said, "Just a frog in the well. Dare to show your teeth and claws in front of me. Burning immortal armor, show me." Mo. King Iron flipped his right hand, and a red armor appeared in his palm. Then, Emo King Iron waved his left arm and threw it into the air. When the immortal burning armor flew into the air, it burst into flames and emitted a scorching fire attribute law. The grade of this armor seems to have reached the quasi-universe level. Looking at the armor floating in the air, everyone's eyes lit up, and their gazes became scorching. Under everyone's scorching gaze, the flames bursting from the immortal burning armor began to converge. Soon, the immortal burning armor turned into a halberd and fell into Emo King Iron's hands. Emo King Iron held the immortal burning halberd tightly, and he released a law power and injected it into it. Emo King Iron's mind controlled the law, and the immortal burning halberd immediately burst into flames, bursting out several feet of thick flames. "What? A domineering flame. In this way, my attack power will be increased by at least 30%. Looking At the flames on the immortal burning halberd, Emokingan raised his eyelids, raised a wicked smile, and said, "Now, I should end this game, and it's your turn." Next point, the immortal burning halberd turned in Emokingan's hand, and turned into a stream of light, stabbing at one person. Chapter 122. The shadows come down. After forcing Lu Xuan back with one blow, Emokingan did not stop, and immediately started to chase Lu Xuan. Emokingan's figure swayed, and in the blink of an eye he came in front of Lu Xuan, and chopped him with a halberd again. Facing Emokingan's attack, Lu Xuan did not dare to resist, and quickly dodged to the side. Lu Xuan's dodging did not stop Emokingan's attack, and he still chopped towards his chest. "Do you really think I'm afraid of you?" Seeing Emokingan's 993 move, Lu Xuan immediately showed a gloomy face, and cold anger emerged in his eyes. He is a dignified inner sect disciple of Hingyuan divine sect. How could he be afraid of an ordinary new disciple? More importantly, he is a peak Star Elm strongman. If he can't even solve a junior in the late Star Elm, his title of peak Star Elm is equivalent to a false reputation. All-seeing Holy Spirit Fist, Lu Xuan punched out, and condensed a pure Yuan force, gathering into the shape of a giant python. Roar. The giant python roared, and bit towards Emokingan, as if it wanted to devour him alive. Emokingan saw Lu Xuan coming. He was not panicked at all, and rushed directly towards the giant python. "Boy, do you really think I can't do anything to you?" Looking at Emokingan's actions, Lu Xuan's mouth showed a sneer, and said, "Today, even if it costs, I will defeat you. Otherwise, how can my Hingyuan divine sect maintain its reputation?" The source of thunder, the advent of thunder, Lu Xuan blasted out with a palm, and a purple light condensed in his palm, turning into a purple lightning streak. After the lightning streak was formed, it blasted towards the burning immortal armor, trying to destroy it. Bang. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 123. Ignored. This level of coldness seems to be useless to me. Sensing the coldness of the Ninox sword, Lu Xuan had a mocking expression on his face, and was very disdainful of it. He knew very well that, although the coldness of the Ninox sword was terrifying, it could not hurt him. While Lu Xuan was sneering, he slapped the Ninox sword, and grabbed it. The Ninox sword was captured by Lu Xuan, and a vast holy power was infused into it from his arm. This holy power was injected into the Ninox sword, and the coldness emitted by the Ninox sword was immediately weakened a lot. Seeing Lu's actions, Emokingan was slightly shocked, and his expression gradually became serious. No wonder Hingyuan divine sect sent him here. 21 is indeed quite powerful, Emokingan praised, and he took back the Ninox sword, and replaced it with the red demon sword. After the Ninox sword and the red demon sword were replaced, Emokingan's aura suddenly expanded, giving people an extremely dangerous feeling. Sensing Emokingan's changes, Lu Xuan's expression was stunned, and he said in surprise, "This guy's strength suddenly increased, and he actually reached the perfection of the Star Domain realm, which is 4 elms higher than before. It is worthy of being taught by the ancient emperor. It is really very extraordinary." Seeing the change in Emokingan next to him was also shocked and couldn't help but exclaimed. While Emokingan and Lu Xuan were talking, the offensives of both sides had touched each other and fiercely clashed together. Emokingan and Lu Xuan fought for a while, and the two fought evenly, and neither of them could gain the upper hand. Damn, why did this kid suddenly become so powerful after fighting with Emokingan? Lu Xuan's face became tense and his expression became more solemn. He didn't expect that Emokingan's fighting power was so strong. Chapter 124. I want to arrest you. The grade of this knife is 1 level higher than the halberd in your hand, so it can be used. Sensing the momentum of the red demon knife, Lu Xuan curled his lips in disdain, his face full of contempt, and said, "But, relying on only a Hangmeng treasure, it is still impossible to turn the tide. Kneel down at my feet and surrender obediently." Haha, mo. King Guyan ignored Lu Xuan's words, sneered and rushed towards him. Emokingan's figure moved, He held the red demon knife and slashed at Lu Xuan. How can the light of a firefly compete with the bright moon? It's ridiculous. Seeing Emokingan's sword coming, Lu Xuan shook his head in disdain and raised his hand to fight back. Point bang 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 bang. Emokingan and Lu Xuan fought several times, and both of them fought evenly, and neither of them got the slightest advantage. Point seeing that his attack failed, Emokingan did not retreat at all, and directly swung his sword to cut 3 times in a row. Point puff kai kai kai. Suddenly 3 muffled sounds were heard, and Emokingan's 3 sword beams all hit Lu Xuan's chest. Point. After being bombarded by the sword beams, Lu Xuan immediately flew backwards and broke more than 10 giant trees. Looking at the giant trees being knocked down, Lu Xuan's eyes widened with an expression of seeing a ghost and said, "How is it possible? How can you have a strength comparable to that of a strong man in the universe realm? This is definitely not something that a star realm can do." Looking at the shocked Lu Xuan, Emokingan grinned and explained, "Don't say I didn't tell you that before I advanced to the Star Realm, I could defeat the early Universe Realm warriors in seconds. Now that my strength has greatly increased, it is even easier for me to crush you who are at the peak of the Universe Realm." After Emokingan finished speaking, he didn't want to waste time talking and attacked Xuan directly. Point bloodline power burning. Emokingan's figure flashed and he instantly approached Lu Xuan and slashed at him. Point under Emokingan's slash, a terrifying flame power emerged on the red demon knife. Point then, this terrifying flame power gathered on the blade of the red demon knife. Point after the flame power was gathered, Emokingan slashed out again, gradually moving towards Lu Xuan's brow. Chapter 125 Scene changes. Watching the changes in the surrounding scene, Lu Xuan's smile became even bigger, as if he was in control of the situation. Point then, under Lu Xuan's control, he summoned several clones. Clone technique. After summoning a clone, Lu Xuan pinched his sword fingers and controlled them to pounce on Emokingan. Point after several clones were formed, they joined forces and bombarded Emokingan's back. Point seeing the clones attacking him, Emokingan's expression trembled and his face darkened. Point he guessed correctly that this strange secret method could indeed perform the clone technique. Point, but the more clones there were, the more trouble it would cause him, and the more difficult it would be for him to escape. In that case, I can only take a risk and try it. After understanding his situation, Emokingan gritted his teeth and immediately changed the 813 strategy. Point he decided to take a risk and try his luck. Point immediately, Emokingan turned around and flew towards a mountain nearby. Point when Emokingan approached the mountain, the holy power he emitted began to weaken rapidly. It is so. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.